Reem, thanks for attending the Jupyter session. So now we are going to be covering what a lot of you have been waiting for, which is the actual product, take you through the real life product on what the team has been talking about. We'll start with data onboarding, which is one of the key things that we have enhanced in 6.4 in the Jupyter release. So that's what we'll be starting off with. Right now, what you see is for customers who are seeing a product for the first time, a very quick view into the end result on when everything goes through, what does the overall product or what does the end command center look like, and how would you go through it. We will come back to this at the end to kind of take you through an example of a thread chain, an example of how you investigate. But first, like I said, we'll start with kind of taking a step from the beginning, which is data onboarding. So what you see over here is what we've introduced now as something called a discovery stage. Discovery, essentially what we're doing is that our collector is passively listening to data that is coming to it via syslog or via HTTP listener, any kind of passive listening. So right now over here on the screen, you're seeing that there's some Windows devices that we're already discovering. As you're discovering these devices, we're also doing auto recommendation of what this particular device is, right? So in this case, what you're seeing is we got some Windows data, and the system is telling you this looks like to be Windows operating system data associated with it. To show you this in action, we are actually going to now throw some data at the system for a couple of different device types and see how does the system discover that data, and then also how does the system do recommendation of that data. Right now you have some laptops, some servers, some domain controllers, and as I turn on a feed of some other devices, those devices will start popping up over here in just about maybe for about 5 to 10 seconds. You'll start seeing those devices come up on the screen. So here you go. On the left hand side, you see now some new ASA devices have suddenly popped up, and what basically as they hit the collector, they immediately became available to you over here. And the system identified them and tagged them as potential Cisco ASA devices. What we're going to do now is, and we can arrange them. We can arrange them by which ingester or which collector is collecting them, and or what the recommended device type is. We'll start with taking these ASA devices that the system is discovering, and we'll onboard them into the system, or we'll onboard them into production. So on the left, we chose ASA. And we're going to take all these devices that we are getting, and we're going to try to do a bulk ingestion, so you don't have to do a one by one through every device. We're going to take all of these devices, and let's just say all these devices are coming from UTC. They could be coming from different time zones also. Let's just say they're all coming from UTC. We're going to set the time zone, and then we're also going to just confirm to the system that your recommendation is correct. This is actually Cisco ASA devices. And the parser that you're applying to it is absolutely right. If it wasn't, you do have the option of going in, editing it either through a custom parser or choosing a different kind of parser from our out-of-the-box system. Now, once you do that, the system is actually going and trying to take a set of 1,000 lines and see if this parser is actually parsing those lines. So as you see the rightmost thing, it's actually marking it in green, telling you that yep, I'm able to parse all this. This is good. Now let's go and actually start ingesting this data. From here, all the end user is doing is simply clicking on the next button to say, this is good, let's move forward. And we are basically just showing you, no action is needed on this. We're just showing you how we are doing it. So in case, an MSSP or a customer wants to edit it, they can. We just move from here, just do next. You can see a list of policies or list of alerts that we are running on this particular log source. Again, you have the capability of editing it. You do have the capability of creating your own if you need to. This is an end summary page where we're telling you, okay, you're good to go. This is what the system is going to look like. These are the alerts that are going to run, and we just clicked on save to production. When we save to production, we are basically now onboarded this device into production. This is now taking us into our monitoring screen, which gives just a quick view to the end user to say you clicked on production. We've already started getting the data. So as you can see on the left, the data has already started publishing now, and we've started to ingest this data. What we are now going to do, we're actually going to go to Spotter, which is our search interface for those who are not familiar with this, and we're going to start looking at the data that is coming to the system. On the left hand side, you have violations or the alerts that we're detecting. On the right hand side, you have the data that we're collecting. This can be filtered based on functionality. This could be filtered based on the type or a resource type or the vendor type of that data. So we're going after a resource type here to start with. Now over here we've introduced something called a live search. Now what live search essentially does is that it's giving you streaming events as they are coming in. So basically what this is a live stream of events as soon as we are collecting these events and giving you the capability to search on these events. It's giving you the capability to actually go in and write search queries on these events and then go further from there also and create your own alert channels on this. So that way you can actually go in and what I'm doing is just picking up a random IP from one of these events and saying, okay, what I want to do is I'm looking for any event that is matching this particular IP pattern. And I'm just going to run this through the streaming data that is coming to us and see if anything matches this. Now as this is running through, whatever events are going to match this particular stream, I'm already able to see those events right from streaming data. I'm going to take this and I'm going to create a channel out of it. The goal of this is that I want to create some kind of an alert channel or some kind of an alerting to say, okay, this is great. Now if any kind of activity happens from this IP, I want to have a separate channel that can alert me on it. I'm just creating a channel called suspicious IPs here and saving it. This is right now limited to me as an end user. I can share it with a bunch of other people. I can share it with a different analyst group. And expose this out to other team members. Once I save this, on the left hand side I have this channel available for any kind of for myself or other users to look at and use from there. Now let's go back to the summary page where we started off from, which was our spotter summary. Now just give it a second here. I'm just going back to the spotter summary. Okay, so here when I go back to the spotter summary, now we'll go into hot data, which is basically your sub-second searching of data that we are providing to you. We'll pick up a log source. I picked up Corelize device. Let's pick up a Windows device. So we'll go into a Windows machine and we'll see what data is available over there. Now the first thing to see is the data that we show you is enriched events, right? So for folks that are already familiar with our product, they know this. For those that are not, we are enriching it with CMDB, user data, threat intel, geolocation, whatever is possible. Now this is a huge change that we've now added, which is you introduced a tabular view for the data. So you can actually now see the data in a tabular view, create custom views per analyst, where you now have the capability to say, for when I look at Windows data, I want to have these columns available to me. These should be frozen, these should be flexible, this should be the order of those columns. Every analyst can have their own views. I can have views per log source, per IOC, and that basically gives me the capability to investigate this in a much more flexible manner. The other thing we are also doing is we are also introduced the concept of data dictionary and labels. Now again, the goal of this is to provide standardization of what an attribute or what an event attribute is called across vendors for a certain functionality. So it doesn't matter if you have a Palo Alto or an ASA, a certain device will be called a device, or a certain method will be called a request method, doesn't matter what it is. And also you can customize your labels for historic data as well as for future coming data if you want to make it for however you are used to using that data. So this gives you this flexibility of having a standard data dictionary across devices and also being able to set up your own labels or labels that you are more familiar with, making the adoption for the SOC a lot more easier and a lot more faster. The other thing that we've also introduced now over here is the concept or the ability for you to actually go in and create your own incidents. Now actually before I go there, one quick thing also is, if you see on the left, we're also giving you fields, summarized fields based on those labels. So that way you can actually directly search on those labels. You can also create alerts, and you can also create your own policies, dashboards, reports directly using these labels. So you don't have to know what it has been mapped to or what the mapping attribute is. All of those concepts have been taken away from you. We'll go into case creation now. So what we've now given you the option is you can actually take a set of events while you're doing threat hunting or searching and add it to an already present incident. So here I went in, I took a couple of events and I added it to an incident called data leakage. I clicked on the incident ID and I can now see those events have now been added to an already existing incident. So this way you can take an incident that we have triggered in the product and actually add your own threat hunting based evidence into that incident. You can also go in and create your own incidents from scratch using these events. So you can just simply choose a set of events and say I want to create an on-demand incident or an on-demand case, and here I'm going and creating an on-demand incident, putting in a little bit of a description, some comments on it, assigning it right now to the admin, and now you have an incident that has been created where I can now go in and add whatever events I want to it, add my own comments or go from there, right? Again, the goal is that you're not just limited to the incidents or to the alerts that we generate during your own. Sorry, I think the video just paused here. So during your own investigation, you can actually go and create fresh cases from scratch, add your own incidents to it, add your own comments to it, and treat them the same way as you would treat an alert that we have created. Now, so this is the whole flow, or this is what we've enhanced our entire view of Spotter or our searching interface, as well as our case creation and an analyst workflow. Next, what we'll go into is content management. So one of the key things that Nanda also talked about was content as a service. So what we have now made possible is for our end customers to get access to updated content and to get access to our latest and greatest content directly through the user interface, and have that available to them very quickly and be able to deploy it directly from the UI without having to download it or sharing a package or anything like that. So here what you can see is you have content available, and on the left you have everything from parsers to lookup tables to data dictionary to policies to threat models, and we either have updates for them. So as we update our content in our repository, you'll get those updates available to you, where you can directly start going in and downloading that updates or deploying those updates and start using them. You'll also have the capability for new content, where you'll also be able to go in and say there are some new IOCs that we've built out, there are some new connectors or parsers that are available, and you'll have the option to actually go in and just deploy that in your environment also as we develop new IOCs and new connectors, right? The goal is to make it available to you as quickly as possible, and you're not having to wait for days and weeks, or customers that are having to wait for days and weeks before new IOCs are available to them. The other thing that we've also given is we've also given an option of committing content. So what this is essentially is, and this is more I think for our MSSPs and partners, that will be more useful, where as you go in and build custom content, you go and build it, let's say for one single customer, you can now save it to your repository and use it for the next set of customers that you onboard, or pass it on to a central repository so we can standardize it for you, and then you can use it across any set of new customers. This will basically now allow our MSSPs and partners to scale out and create their own repository of content along with our repository, and not having to do duplicate work, or not having to maintain offline copies of it, and then as they get new customers having to deploy those repositories. So these are some of the features that we've introduced on content as a service. The next thing what we'll do is we'll go back to the command center where we started off from, and we'll go into an example of a threat chain on how we are trying to use our threat chaining concept to actually help you become predictive in nature, and then also look at our response capabilities a little bit. So we'll go into this APT detection, which is the left hand side top, which is just an example of a potential threat chain we have. We'll drill down into the user that has been triggered for this. Now what you have over here is you have a multi-stage attack that is taking place, where there are different stages of this attack all mapped back to the MITRE tactics, and the singular anomalies that we've detected using our machine learning techniques mapped back to the MITRE techniques. It starts off with a potential phishing, where we have a visually similar or a typo-scored domain, where basically we have a phishing analyzer that is telling me that this domain looks suspicious in nature. And then followed by that, our threat intel is also telling us that, by the way, this is not just a one-off domain. It seems that this is associated with a particular Trojan MTBR and also associated with a particular attack group in the MITRE attack group, which is TA505. This basically helps us in now not just focusing on one single domain, but as we move forward into response and as we move forward into automation, taking everything from this attack group and actually providing that or using that as automation for blocking it. We also, based on a watch listing, figured out that this is also an executive user. Now, followed by that, what we see is we see that this particular machine is having some new processes being executed on their machine, where we are seeing that this is a rare process that is getting executed, and we've not seen this process being executed before using a rarity. And we have quite a few days of data, as you can see, for this, and we have a high degree of confidence. And then we also see not just it's a rare service, it's a rare process, we are also seeing a service being executed on the machine that has not been executed on any other machine belonging to the same people of those department, of those titles, of those divisions. So it's a peer-based anomaly where a process or a service is running on a certain machine that is not running on any other machine in that particular user group. Followed by that, we see that that machine and the IP associated with that machine is also doing potential lateral movement. Now, here basically what we are doing is we have an attacker victimology concept where we are tying the user to the machine to the IP associated with that machine and tying those singular anomalies together. This is again detected using a different machine learning algorithm, where we are seeing that typically this machine connects to a certain number of endpoints, makes a certain number of connections, and today we see a huge spike in the number of connections it's making. It's an enumeration based behavior. Now, right now we've detected 3 stages and we are already seeing lateral movement happen. Our goal is to detect these stages and try to help you stop this attack here before it goes any further. So, as you can see, we are also showing you that, by the way, there is potential of command and control happening from here. There is potential of data exfiltration happening from here, and we've provided a little toggle switch on the left, where if you enable it, you'll actually be able to see that potentially, if this is not stopped right now, these could be the different MITRE techniques and the different attacks that could happen in the near future if this is not stopped right away. The goal, like I said, is for you to stop this in the tracks and not it to be detected as a single indicator when a bunch of data leaves your environment, and then you're trying to backtrack it and figure out how this actually happened. Along with our threat chains, we are now enhancing our response capabilities. So we are also adding playbooks into this and response capabilities into this. So we have playbooks associated with this, where you are actually able to see, you're actually able to automate the response, or you can even trigger these playbooks manually. So here in this case, we have going in and fetching the email from the O365 mailbox to actually get the body of the email, the attachment in the email. Go to VirusTotal and actually confirm from VirusTotal if this is a phishing or this is a malicious domain and an IP or not. Then we are going and actually comparing the file to and the attachment to the Yara rules to see if this is a suspicious file, if there's any kind of keyloggers or anything in that. We are then going and actually going into a threat intel and getting all the associated domains with this particular associated with the particular attack group, and actually looking at who are all the users who have received an email from any of those domains. So that way we can then go into CrowdStrike and actually go and quarantine all these machines and isolate these machines out before they infect anything else, and then block it through our firewall and block those IPs on our firewall. This is an example of an end-to-end playbook on how you can actually go and automate some of these response actions. Outside this, we also have other response actions where you can go and mark something as concern, non-concern. You can go in and add watch list or whitelist things and take action on these alerts. We also, because it's one single integrated platform, we're also giving you violation events, basically the events associated with this entire attack chain in a single view, and you can see all these events enriched and available to you with all the MITRE techniques, with user information, with CMDB information for an analyst to run searches on, export it out, or whatever they'll want to do from here. The last thing that I will go into now is a concept that we've introduced called activity monitor. So what we've also done is, for our customers and our MSSPs and partners, we've now given them the capability to monitor how they are using the platform, meaning to actually see which all devices are sending data to us, which collectors are running in their environment, when was the last event received, how much data are they sending to us per device, and trend it over time, over the last week, last month, last year, and actually see what are my top 15 devices, what are my lowest 15 devices, or 20 or whatever, and actually stack them up and see the trending of their data, so they can see the usage of the platform, they can see the license usage, they can see what more data can they add or filter down data. You can see this in a stack bar chart, or you can also see this in a line chart in different kinds of trending. That's all I had today from a product side. I'll hand it off to Anita and Tanuj to go through the raffle, Q&A, and any closing remarks. Thank you.